All right, good evening, everyone, or good morning, everyone. I'm Wave Meteorologist Brian Good. Quick updates on our alert day status for today as we are getting ready really for what looks to be much more active again for tonight with showers and some thunderstorms, some of which containing some very heavy rainfall. And in addition to all that, the potential is there for even some stronger thunderstorms that can produce some severe thunderstorm warnings, and even a couple of tornado warnings can't be rolled out in this kind of a setup. Again, this will be later tonight at a time when we always get very concerned about it because it's happening when a lot of you are trying to sleep, right? So a lot to cover with that, an hour-by-hour type of setup. So bear with me for a moment as we'll try to get you through this and a step-by-step process. I'll explain how we're going to get there on Futurecast and we'll get into all the elements as far as timing as well coming up in a minute, because that's the big thing is the timing. And I want to talk about that in just a few. So hold on to your questions, and we'll get to some of that here in just a second. As we will keep you updated, by the way, on streaming as we are evolving through these severe weather events. I know that our main networks are on, of course, with the Summer Olympics. So that's where that will stay. But there will be updates on our end here on the social side, certainly into the Wave weather app. Is by far one of the best tools you're going to have to get through this event for multiple rounds, not just one, multiple rounds of thunderstorms we'll be facing into the coming days. All right, let's get you outside. Here's the latest look from New Albany. Very much a poor visibility, rainy type of setup that we've had so far for the day today. We've had a good soaking amount of rain that came through. That is disintegrated enough to where it's even left behind a few rays of sun, but we don't have long. The next MCS or next complex of storms already starting to show signs of sitting down some showers there in our direction. That may develop into much more of a spottier fashion as we do this afternoon, but do expect to see more scattered heavy downpours as we head into this afternoon, mixed in with some intense sun. So far, the rain today, much of that is across central Kentucky. It doesn't really tell you the whole story. Even in Jefferson County, it's showing an inch in Fairdale, Okolona, 6/10. I am in the southern part of the county. I was well over an inch and a half of rain. And right now I was monitoring my setup with all my fish and turtles and everything. And my yard is at the worst flooding since I have lived back here in Louisville, is the worst flooding right now. So I'm going to be tackling that my own self here this afternoon, trying to get myself and my yard ready because we do have more heavy rain. I'm talking about inches of rain that will likely fall again tonight. And if you've already got flooding ongoing in your yard, another round of rain is not a good thing. That's just going to add to more problems. And I think that's what we're going to be facing as our main headline this week, as we're going to have periods where it's going to be sunny and hot and not much happening, and other periods where the weather is just absolutely a mess outside. So if you have any issues with basements of flood, any type of area in general old line area, but it's usually the southern part of Jefferson County that are more prone to flooding, make sure you're staying weather aware just in case those areas do rise faster than expected. The risk for flash flooding, it's there. It's a slight risk. I think this could be arguably a bit higher than what it's indicated. They are considering a flood watch to come out this afternoon that would cover southern Indiana and likely would cover Louisville based on what I've seen so far, but they haven't made that decision yet. Severe risk, Storm Prediction Center, slight risk. I don't think this is going to go up to an enhanced yet. If this was moving through the area during the daytime period instead of moving in overnight tonight, I think it absolutely would be an enhanced risk, if not even a bit touch higher. There's a very impressive wind field that dives in later on tonight, and there is some help with it being overnight on cutting down on some of that, but at the same time, it is still going to be very active on the radar tonight, and we need to really be on guard for an active night for warnings. So if you are a light sleeper in severe weather events, this is going to be a rough night for you, I'm afraid, the way this is trending here. It's going to be kind of a long night. Looking at your tornado potential, breaking it down, it's at a 5% low end on the scale, but roughly Indiana to near Louisville. I think it's only when these cells, this MCS, this complex of storms, when it first gets going, it will have at least its greatest tornado potential in individual cells at that point. And then you'll run into isolated spin-ups on the leading edge of what will likely be a Boeing segment that will develop out of this complex of storms here shortly after it develops. And that is where your straight line wind is a little greater in coverage. That's the biggest threat. On the wind side of things would be straight line wind in the Boeing segment. Secondary would be an isolated tornado that can get into the mix. By far, though, of all the threats I just listed, flooding is at the top of the list. All right, here is Futurecast for the rest of this afternoon. Spotty showers and storms moving in. You saw them there in Indiana, moving on by. Those should not cause too many problems. We've had a few breaks now to where a lot of the water is trying to recede in areas it can, so we should see some improvement. But we get into about 7 or 8 o'clock tonight, and that is when our next little ripple in the jet moves in. All that gold you see is the fuel that these thunderstorms have to feed on. The little ripple is going to be traveling from roughly Illinois right to just south of Indianapolis to near I-71 and then dive to the southeast into areas of the Smoky Mountains. And that'll be happening later on tonight. As it makes that dive through the area, it is going to feed on a tremendous amount of moisture that is in the air. Not only that's already here, but what it's going to be, it already has with it, it's going to be scooped up and bringing into town as well. So that's a combination of a double whammy when it comes to really enhancing some of the rainfall totals. So let me show you what it looks like. This is, again, on a little bit of a broader scale, but you get the idea. We'll start at 7:30. Let's advance it. Here we go at 9 o'clock tonight. Give or take an hour or so with this kind of a setup. When we get to about 9 o'clock tonight, and you can see that we're getting these larger clusters, and this is where we're going to get into a tornado threat probably early on when they first start forming, very close to southern Indiana in the 9, 10 o'clock hour. Then it just becomes a massive line, and this just rapidly dives to the south and to the east through the 11 o'clock midnight hour. And these could easily have wind gusts that could exceed not just the typical 60 miles per hour. I'm talking about 70 mile per hour winds that could accompany some of the Boeing segments with this line. And it looks like it's going to be a show right in our backyard here for this to develop. And certainly in the edges, you got to watch for some rotation. You can get an isolated tornado that can develop, but this is going to be transitioning to a heavy rain, flash flooding for sure, and straight line wind event fairly quick. We get into the overnight. It continues at 1 o'clock in the morning to race down the southern areas of Kentucky, and by 3 or 4, it begins to slow down. This is just one model's idea. I'll show you another in a second. But with so much rainfall coming out of the system, the potential is there for high water to have a very tough time draining. The drains will be maxed out to allow the drains to reset. This is a little unusual setup where they will have a much more of a battle this time around than normal. So roadways that are flooded, high water areas in your yard, whatever the case may be, will likely stay up higher even after the rain does end. It'll be a slow receding process. So because of that, I do think the morning commute tomorrow has a very good chance to still be impacted by high water issues and perhaps even some road closures if some of these water rainfall amounts are realized that I'm looking at. The impact from the morning commute tomorrow will be there. So we're going to have the alert day really cover that potential window as well for travel. We don't have much of a break, unfortunately, guys, because just as soon as we try to rest up, we're going to heat things up back into the 90s, very humid outside, and more showers and storms will begin to move through. Now, How the next 2 to 3 evolve in that flow in the northwest, that's still a big question mark. They may develop over the same area. We may get hit again, nearly at the exact same time, same idea. Or we may see them get adjusted a little more into Ohio and maybe leave us alone for a 24-hour window. That part has to be worked out on a case-by-case basis. So all I can tell you is there's more energy that's going to come down, and it will continue to aim southeast. I just don't know if we'll be in the path of the other additional rounds that are showing up. We just know the one tonight, very high likelihood it will impact us. So that's our main focal point, and we'll just take these, as we said last week, we're going to have to take these one step at a time, right? So that will calm down, and hopefully we'll try to get some rest in here toward the end of the week, but we'll see. All right, here is the HER model, and you can see, let me kind of rewind that here just a tad. You see that as we into 1 o'clock this afternoon, it's got a few spotty downpours around, but we get to 8 o'clock. There's the very beginning signs of it on the HER model developing around 8 o'clock. Nearly the same spot as what our in-house graph model showed, which was in central Indiana near Seymour. Again, these are the ones we got to watch when they first form. They can produce isolated tornadoes, and they quickly can gel together into a solid line. And this is where you can get your straight line wind gusts, but you can also get the potential for these little weak little notches that can form. This is where you can get isolated tornadoes, little spin ups that can form in any of those little notches in the leading edge of the bow wind segment, and same back to the west as well. They don't usually last very long, but a tornado is a tornado. It can still do damage. So it just makes it a lot harder for meteorologists, especially in the middle of the night, to pick those out on radar. So there may be several tornado warnings, but it doesn't necessarily mean every single one's going to touch down. I just think that Weather Service is probably going to be overly cautious too on this scenario. If they get any kind of spinning going on, there probably will be a warning out. So just be aware of that. But I still think that the heavy rain and obviously the straight line wind threat are going to take a higher ranking there than any tornado potential will be. 4 o'clock in the morning, mess out there, right? 6 o'clock, still trying to ease back down. But again, I still think the residual effects will continue. And then we'll have the second round. The HER likes it aimed a little more south. You saw the other model, the graph model, aimed it more toward Ohio. So again, there's still some disagreement on where that placement will be. This is where the HER, right now anyway, thinks some of the heavier rain totals. Again, I'm over 1.5 inches of rain, but I have nowhere else for water to go in my yard, I know for sure. So that's a mess for me to clean up later. But an additional 2 to 5 inches of rain would cause some significant problems in the area. So that's why we need to really watch these totals as these thunderstorms move on through. And I still think that's why, again, some street closures could still be at play because of whatever happens overnight. It's going to take some time to get that water back down within its right banks or property line, wherever the case may be, but so everyone can get around and travel. So the alert day, we're going to start this as a pretty wide window, and I hope we can narrow it down more, but I think it's safe right now to go with a big window on potential impacts, and we'll chip it away from that point. So this is a 9 to 9 kind of issue. 9 tonight to 9 tomorrow. All the threats I mentioned, of course, on the table. I just am worried about travel impacts for the morning drive. We get into Thursday and Friday. We still have some signs here of MCS activity dropping down, not as much of an aggressive look to that as what the first part of the week here has been featuring. And then we get into what may be Debbie with the tropics working up the eastern coastline. Should not impact us, but anytime you get a cyclone that close to us in the eastern United States, you're going to get a decent amount of sinking air that will happen in our area. So that should trend to a drier forecast for us as we into early next week if the rule of thumb on that holds. And then we'll see what the extended looks like in terms of anything more long-lasting on the thunderstorm chances. All right, let me get into the entire 10-day. And again, you can see the highest rain chance is going to be with the alert day tonight. This is probably going to go up. And we'll have additional showers and thunderstorms clusters that will move through this week. We're just, I can't run additional alert days that may come out. We just don't know the exact timing and placement. Once we do and confidence goes up and it's our area, and then, yes, you're going to hear about an alert day. If it ends up not being our area, then obviously we don't have to worry about it. We get into the weekend, we should see things taper down as long as Debbie, or what soon to be Debbie, stays on the eastern seaboard. That should calm our weather down locally, and then maybe getting back into an isolated storm setup into the extended. What questions can I try to answer for you guys? Because I just went through a big, huge ramble, right? Tuesday evening, Lou City game. With it being so active early in the day, Susan, there would be a chance that some may try to form. If we stay cloudy much of the day, I think it's going to be fairly quiet. But I think at the moment, I am not seeing the next complex right now aim into the city. It's either north or south of the city for the Tuesday night, Wednesday wave. But we'll watch that, Susan, for any potential impacts after this one. We got to get through this one first, and then we'll see what happens from there. Everyone's chiming in their own opinions on the data that's coming in. That's fine. All right. When's it going to start, Doug? I'll just try to be, hopefully it made sense. It's going to be starting Indiana first, roughly in the 9 o'clock hour, and it may end fairly quick. I mean, it could be over with by 3 or 4 in the morning. But again, the impacts may linger longer than what we have on the actual system itself, just to cover our bases on that. Brian just tuned in. We're talking about the one. Are we in the clear until tonight? Yeah, we're fine. Anything this afternoon is going to be spotty. There's not enough organization to anything for this afternoon to cause a big problem. It's tonight that I'm worried about. Okay. Oh boy. Okay, there's a lot of questions and a lot of concerns, and I am an old man, so I can barely read half of it, so I apologize. And there's a lot of you in here, so hang tight. Give me a second, and I'll try to scan through it. I think your question, Dallas, I can't really be honest with it where you're at on the screens here. I can't really read it very well, but I think what you're trying to say is about coverage tonight. If there is an immediate danger to the area, we're going to be working with getting that on the TV side. We will be on the TV side for something that's an immediate danger to the city. You will know that. Okay, so that hasn't changed. If there's weather watches and warnings that are coming out, those will still pop on the screen like normal. All right, and it's all set up to where it shouldn't block anything that you're seeing for the Olympics, just FYI. On the stats that are on the screen. But obviously, if there's something damaging and threatening coming into the area, that's going to be a priority for us, right? So we'll be there when we are not facing an immediate threat, but we have a chance to talk to you guys about the potential threats. Then this is where you're going to find us, is here on the streaming services on the Wave Weather app. So keep an eye on that and the Wave Weather channel, 24-hour channel. That's the best tool for you guys to have. All right, I'm going to edit that for now and get ready to look over some more of this data coming in. SBC updates coming in at 12:30. So I'll have an idea at that point if that's the case, if there's going to be any changes with that. Otherwise, all I can tell you guys for right now, please stay close to the forecast changes. Be weather aware tonight. Make sure things charge up before you go to bed. Keep checking back in with the forecast once you guys enjoy the Olympics as well and enjoy your week period. But we're going to be sending out notifications as we gain more confidence on how this will play out. And again, additional alert days this week can easily come out. I wouldn't rule it out. All right. Stay safe, everyone. I'll see you on the flip side.